How many times does the body of the for loop execute? Okay, the amount of times that the loop is going to execute is how many times the condition is true. So let's go ahead and trace through the code because there's no other way to know how many times it's gonna run unless you go through the code. So notice that I is gonna start off as 0. And then my first step in the for loop is to check the condition. That's always the first step. So we check, is 0 less than 16? True. So I'm gonna add a check mark because again, every time that the condition is true is when I'm gonna execute the code, right? Because once the condition is true, the second step is to run the code, okay? And so I need to check how many times it's true. So every time that it's true, you can add a check mark to keep track of how many times it's true. And then, you just add up the check marks and that's how many times it was true. So that's how many times the loop body runs. So since that's true, we would run the code. Now, since the question here is just asking how many times it's gonna run, which is how many times it's true, we don't really have to keep track of the output, okay? But the first output would be 0. But then after we do step 2, we would go to step 3 and we would update the variable. Notice that the variable here is not updating by 1. It's not I++. It's I equals I plus 3. So I increases by 3, so I now is 3. Once step 3 is done, we loop back to step 1. So we're going to check, is 3 less than 16? Yes. So it's true a second time. We run the code, step 2, and then we go to step 3. And we increase by 3, so now it's 6. We check the condition, 6 less than 16, true, a third time. So since that's true, we would do step 2, we run the code, which prints out I, and then we go to step 3, we update I goes up by 3, is now 9. I go back to my condition, 9 less than 16, true a fourth time, okay? So since step 1 is true, I go to step 2, I print out I, and then go to step 3, I goes up by 3, so now I is 12. 12 less than or equal to, 12 less than 16, that's true. So it's true a fifth time. We do step 2, we would print out the 12, and then I goes up by 3, I is now 15. I check the condition, 15 less than 16, true again. So it's true a sixth time. I go into the code, I print the 15, then I goes up by 3, so I now is 18. I check the condition, 18 less than 16? No. Okay. So we would exit the loop would be done, we would go to any next line of code, but there's nothing there. Because really the question here was just asking how many times does it run? And the amount of times that it runs is how many times I had a check mark. We have 6 check marks here total, 6 times that it was true, so the loop runs 6